Welcome back to the Rise with Anita podcast, or welcome if you're new here. If you're new here, this is a space where ambition meets embodiment, where soul meets strategy, and where we don't just talk about transformation, we learn how to live it. Today's guest is someone whose work sits at the intersection of science, leadership, and the nervous system. Dr. Christina Manukyan is a doctor of pharmacy, former clinical leader of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, founder of the STORRIE Institute, creator of NeuroBreathwork and the Xpand capacity method, bestselling author, keynote speaker, and the host of a globally ranked podcast, Xpand Capacity. No big deal. After spending more than 2 decades in healthcare, she made the courageous decision to leave a successful career and rebuild her life from the inside out. A journey that has helped thousands of entrepreneurs and executives regulate their nervous system, expand their capacity, and lead from a completely different identity. What I especially love is that while so many conversations around success usually start around strategy, Dr. Christina reminds us that the greatest bottleneck is often our internal capacity to actually hold what we're building. And as two Armenian women whose families carry generations of resilience, sacrifice, and survival, I'm especially excited to explore how our stories shaped our nervous systems and how we can consciously rewrite them. So, Christine, welcome to the show. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. You forgot the word badass, the two badass Armenian powerhouse women. So 2 words you forgot from the introduction. I'm so excited to be here, my love.
Well, I usually love to start this show with arriving with a
Mm.
breath because I know you and I are both passionate about getting back into the breath and getting into the body. So, if you're listening to this and you're able to do so and you're not driving, please place both feet on your ground, relax your shoulders, release any tension you have in the jaw. Inhaling through the nose deeply for 4, holding for 4. And we're going to release through the mouth for 6. Taking one more deep breath in deeply through the nose for 4. Hold for 4. And release for 6. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to invite you to just simply ask yourself, where in my life am I trying to carry more than I was actually meant to carry? And notice what's coming up. So, I know that you don't listen to the podcast, and so you're not aware of what I usually start off with. But before we get into the resume, I'd love to start with what is bringing you joy in this current season?
Ooh, I'm in a season of knowing whatever I want, not only already have within me, but also I get to spend my time the way I wanted to. Especially now as we're recording the podcast, is during summertime, where this was the hardest times of my life as a working mom and my spouse as well too, and the kids were young and always in childcare was an issue for us because they were not at school. So summer was the most stressful times for us. And again, having that, had to pick and choose of where do I spend my time with? It was on the road driving to work, sitting in a car in traffic in LA, or working away from home, right? So now being able to create the lifestyle and being present, like that gives me the biggest joy knowing in the next few years the kids are going to be out of the house and so we will become an empty nester, right? So like that's the biggest joy right now, knowing the time that I have, everything that I want, it's already within us and around me. And I'm like so fucking blessed. And I will be cussing on your podcast. If you need to remove it, go for it. But like this is the true authentic self of me. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This is how I show up every single day. No mask, no filter. It's just raw and real, babe. So yeah, that's we are enjoying the fucking life that we've been given on this earth. Let's go.
I love that. And no apologies. No, what I ask of all my guests is just bring your authentic selves. And if you curse, feel free to curse.
There
Like,
you go.
That's how
There
we
you go.
are.
There you
So
go.
you've spent more than 20 years in healthcare
Mhm.
before taking what many people would consider a enormous leap. Looking back, who had to change first, your circumstance or your identity?
Well, before I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I was chasing after the circumstances because I was burned out in corporate America. But then also, like deep down, I knew there is more. And I've always been so curious of exploring and asking questions. Sometimes my curiosity got me into trouble because I would question things. And coming in from corporate, job, especially working in Beverly Hills, like there's a certain level of like prestige you have to follow, the fake mask that we're talking about, you have to wear. But when I was being curious and questioning things, like I was being judged for that. And I was always like, just keep that shit down. Like, we don't need to hear that. And I was like, I don't belong here. Just something inside of me was saying, like, there has to be a better way. There is something else out there. I just haven't found it yet. Till I start digging and digging and digging. And then I found functional medicine. I found energy healing. I found the lifestyle that I'm embodying now, but I didn't realize how important the identity shift was. And you asked a brilliant question because I carried my old identity from my corporate job because that's all I know. I'm also married to a pharmacist working in a hospital management, like being around the same energy, especially in the household, right? We get each other, but that's also like our only circle that we've known to be around. And when I left corporate and moved to entrepreneurship, I didn't realize I needed to grieve my old identity first. And I brought in the
Mm.
hustle, brought in the way I was functioning and not speaking up. We're talking about speaking up, right? Like the fake masculine mask that I was carrying, all that came to entrepreneurship thinking this is what success should look like. You just do, you just hustle, you just perform. If you don't, you're lazy, right? And really like understanding years later, 6 years later, I'll be about to celebrate my 6 years of being a full-time entrepreneur. I realized how important the identity shift is. And this is why that became my core vision of like teaching everyone and understanding how they have to step into their identity. That was always theirs, but it was like hidden underneath all those layers we carry until we start peeling one layer at a time. You're like, oh shit, like this is who I am. Like this is me. I am home. I have finally arrived. So yes, to answer your question, it was initially just changes of like, I don't belong here. I quit my job during the global pandemic. And that's something that I manifested. I manifested to quit my job and become a corporate dropout by the time I turned 40. I wrote a letter to myself. This is probably something I don't even know you know about it, but I should probably share this since we're on that topic. Exactly a year before I quit, I wrote a letter to myself and I said, a year from now, when I'm 40, I'm going to become a corporate dropout. I'm going to be a full time mom, wife, daughter, and just do what I love to do. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no clue what was about to come. But again, when you manifest and when you are so aligned of like where you're going, like your soul knows. We're just living these different lives, right? Your soul knows. And exactly a year later, again, I found all this space and community. And the same day that I wrote the letter to myself, I actually had to have like a performance review with my boss. And I was like, no, this is the day I'm going to quit. So I left my career, my job, and it's crazy. I was like, wow, the universe gives us exactly what we need, exactly when we need it, right? And my last day of my job was August 28th, 3 days before my 40th fucking birthday. So talk about universe. I'm getting chills even just to talk about it. It's like I manifested to become a corporate dropout. I had no idea how that's going to fall out, right? But again, the energy that went out to the universe, I found my very first mentor like months later out of the blue, invested $25,000 in mentorship. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And then being inside, Tony Robbins community with Unleash the Power Within and just going through that transformation, just like, fuck, I don't belong in big pharma. I'm going to quit. And that same weekend, again, the universe tells me, pick a date. When are you going to turn in your 2-week notice? And that's how it all started. It's crazy to think about, but yes, 6 years ago, here we are, end of July, sitting at UPW virtually and staring at my schedule. Okay, I'm doing this. It's happening. I'm doing this. I'm going to burn the boats. Going to do it. At the same time, universe tells me, my boss sends me an email. Your performance review is scheduled August 13th. I was like, that's the date. Thank you for making it easier for me to choose. So beautiful experience. But it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make because, again, we're going through identity shift, right? Like that's all I knew. That's all I have practiced. That's my whole everything. Like from the significance, from the paycheck. I mean, stepping into the unknown in the most unknown time of the world, like, and I'm turning 40, so everyone's like, she's going through her own shit, like she's going through midlife crisis. But I was like, no, this is my path to my purpose. Like this is my path to my purpose. This is who I was always meant to be. So yes, overnight I went from being a legal drug dealer to a healer, and here we are 6 years later having this beautiful conversation and meeting badass women just like you from the communities I put myself into to be around and to grow together and elevate one another. So there we are.
Wow. So there's a lot to
I know
unpack
I
there.
should have stopped, but you know what? When we're gonna talk, we're gonna talk. And this is exactly what we're gonna be doing. By the way, I'm gonna ask you this. Is that okay if I also broadcast this on my podcast? And is that okay if I ask you questions so my audience gets to hear your beautiful voice as well too?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. So you
Let's do
guys, if
it.
you hear me asking her questions, it's not like we forgot what we're doing. We're not having an identity crisis, host versus guest. This was intentional. Here we go. Let's just put it out to the universe. So yes, let's go, babe.
I mean, you wouldn't be the first who would flip the script on me a few times. I'm not gonna lie. But, going back, there's a lot to unpack in just that beautiful monologue you gave us. Um, when you think about like the steps were kind of already unfolding, but you hadn't made the identity. And it's interesting because one thing I really want to hone in on is the grieving of the old identity.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes when we're like in this process, like I was just thinking about this as I was talking and referencing with my coach, yes, like this week, and I was like, in the last year and a half, I've gone through so many like ego deaths and like identity shifts and just having to come from this like new perspective of meeting myself at a new layer. And so it made me really think about like there are aspects when especially we both come from like a corporate background where it's like you get used to having like someone telling you what to do. What your role is. And then when you flip into entrepreneurship, all of a sudden that role of like telling you what you need to do happens. And it's like in order for us to really own that version of ourselves, it's like we have to start thinking about it from the perspective of the CEO, not the, oh, I'm now an employee. And that's a whole shift in itself. But then oftentimes no one really talks about you do grieve the version of you where life felt simpler or it felt quote unquote easier, even though
Mhm.
the soul was already contracting.
Oh yeah, 100%. There have been so many times I was like, you know what? I'm just fucking done. I'm done. And it's okay. It's okay. I think we as an industry and the community and society, we're putting such a negative also image for people who work in corporate America because
Hmm.
not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur.
No.
Not everyone thrives in this capacity. And if you're put in the wrong environment, everything falls apart, even though you're the star. It's like putting the best team player in the worst team. That athlete is gonna like ruin his career or her career, right? Like both of my kids
Hmm.
play sports, and now I'm all about like, where do they belong as a team, not as a solo, as a team, right? And
Mhm.
yes, entrepreneurship is a spiritual game. It's an intellectual game, but like not everyone's meant to be one. And it's okay if we think grass is greener on the other side. Let me become an entrepreneur, have a time freedom. So instead of working from 9 to 5, I can work 24 hours a day, be always available, because that's the truth that no one talks about. And
Yeah.
we glamorize entrepreneurship and time freedom and all that, but nobody really talks about the sacrifices we have to make to get there. You're in charge of everything. Your revenue, your mental health relies on you, no one else.
Yeah.
And what if this is not the right path? Then go back to where you belong. And there's again nothing wrong with that. So, yes, there have been many times as I've been going through my own growth and pivots and expansion because, being a full-time entrepreneur the last 6 years, but I've been in this coaching space for over like 11, 12 years. I realized like if I'm growing and my business is not catching up with me, there's something is missing. There's going to be disconnect. I'm not going to be excited and fulfilled of the legacy that I'm building. And we're talking
Mm.
about identity shifts, since we're talking about that. Last year, I made that intentional decision after investing over $100,000 to take the year off, to take a freaking sabbatical after making, that decision, not only to invest, but also saying, I'm not going to scale my business because I don't even know what I want. And that's okay. I'm not stupid, but I just didn't know the version of me that has arrived now. Is she
Mhm.
building the legacy that's aligned of where she's not only here, but also going? And I realized there is a gap and I needed to go back to me home. Who am I? What do I want? What the fuck? Like, who am I? Right? Like, simple question, but it's so hard to answer if you don't pause and think about it. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you become whoever the society tells you, whoever your spouse tells you, or your clients tell you, or
Your
your next
parents.
business coach tells you, or your parents, right? And taking that year off, I realized like, wow, there's so many more layers of healing I needed to do. The guilt, the shame, unworthiness I was carrying, the money issues that I was carrying as a business owner, you know, especially worthy to receive, especially as a woman that potentially not only has made more money asides, on the business side, but like in her whole career, but also making more money than the spouse. And I was stuck in my head of like, how is he gonna feel? So again, this is like layers of trauma that was
Yeah.
creeping up on me, but I never up to this point had the time to pause and think about it. So in 2025, I was like, this is the year of the energy of fucking shedding. Like all this crap needs to go. It needs to go. It has to be released so I can
Yeah.
expand my capacity to receive. And when I did that work, when the universe was giving me the opportunities, they just landed on my nervous system like, yes, of course it's an opportunity. Yes. I had the capacity to take it in and it was coming in the way that I wanted it, not based
Wow.
on like what I should be taking or not doing. So yes, from the outside, it makes no fucking sense. Why would someone invest so much money in mentorship and not scale their business, going outside of the norm? But when you know deep down what's going to make that 2 millimeter shift of transformation that was going to create the ripple effect, I was like, this is my path. Again, this is my path to my destiny. This is my hero's journey, and it's not going to look the same as everyone else. And it shouldn't. And it shouldn't.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So, multiple points I want to just bring you back on for a quick second. But first, how does one know
Mhm.
if they are meant to walk the entrepreneur path, or maybe it is time for them to pivot back to whatever skill set they have? And then, secondly, and you can answer this separately, obviously, but like, at what point do you know if it's just a regulation problem, not a disconnect from what you are actually here to do?
Your second question answers the first question. And the way I like to explain it, after 30 years of understanding and learning science and spirituality and neuroscience, like all these different modalities, functional medicine, becoming an expert in nervous system regulation, our nervous system is deciding before you do. Before our body speaks or says something, words come out of our mouth, our nervous system has already made the decision. And most of the times, you ask the question, how do we know if we're supposed to be an entrepreneur? Go back and pivot. 99.99999% of the time, we're making decisions from our heads, which is our ego,
Not her. Mhm.
while we're so overwhelmed because most people chase after big things when they're in the deep pain and their wants change, and that's okay. Pain got me out of corporate America because I said, I can't tolerate this bullshit anymore. I need to be
Mhm.
home with my kids because I have no childcare. I don't belong in big pharma. This is not where I'm supposed to retire. Like, this is not me because I was in a lot of pain. But again, when you're overwhelmed, when you're in so much pain, our brain shuts down because its primary purpose of our brain is to keep us alive.
Yeah.
So when you start making decisions from that state, from that dysregulation, you're making decisions from your head, from your ego, and there's a huge disconnect from your heart and your soul. And when there is a disconnect, this is where you will reach your goals, but you're not going to be fulfilled. You will reach your goals of, let's say, quitting the job and doing it and making all shitload of money as a business owner, right? But you will not have the way success is going to feel. You might get excited for a minute, but then you'd be like, oh, is this it? Who am I?
Mhm.
Or how do I hold on to this amount of wealth that I asked the universe to give me and I received it, but I haven't expanded my capacity to hold it? Because all the subconscious beliefs and previous traumas that we've had, right?
Yeah.
Even as a child, or maybe something that happened to us like 6 months ago, our body thinks we have forgotten, but it hasn't because we haven't released it. So yes, you have to. This is again part of my entire program of like, how do we make decisions before we decide? Because making decisions may seem like it's a hard thing to do, but it's the easiest thing to do. We make 35,000 decisions per day. 35,000 decisions per day. It's an easy thing for us to do. Our body knows how to decide. And this doesn't have to be big decisions or small. They're just decisions. How do I sit? What do I wear today? Where do I look? Do I drink water? Right? These are all decisions that's going through our heads every single
That are on
second,
autopilot. Yeah.
autopilot. But when it comes to the big decisions and we're still on that autopilot and that overwhelm, right? We're having the decision fatigue. And again, we're making decisions from that dysregulation that's costing us time, energy, money, and our sanity and our mental health. And now we wonder, why do I always make the same wrong fucking decision? The truth is, you got to regulate first so your body feels safe. Now it's in alignment. So your brain is like, I'm safe. I can think clearly. I can tap into my heart. Do I want to leave my job or no? Do I want to go on this trip or no? Do I want to say yes to this relationship? Yes or no? Do I need to end this relationship? Yes or no? Not from our head, but from our soul. So again, regulate first, decide from that state second, but most importantly, becoming. Who do you become once you made the decision? That identity you have to embody so not only you can sustain the growth and expansion, but also it's the most authentic self of you. So that you're not
Mhm.
having identity crisis like, oh my God, I said yes to this opportunity, but deep down I'm like, I don't even want to be around them, right? As a business owner, taking clients is like, do I really want it or no? Just because someone is willing to pay doesn't mean we have to say yes,
That
but
it's
that
aligned.
used to be me. They used to be me. I said yes to way too many people in my early on in my career, and I made shitload of money, but it was not aligned with my values, with my soul of who do I get to spend time with? Who am I? What do I want? And instead, I created codependencies, let's say, with the clients. I created this inner conflict of like, oh, I'll get to celebrate when I reach this milestone. Again, all the shit that I know now. But again, as a newbie, we don't know what we don't know. But
Yeah.
someone has always been curious. I would always question, like, why am I feeling this way? Is this shit normal? Maybe it is normal. I don't know. But let me ask someone else. Right? So again, having that constant reinvention. And yes, there's always seasons and reasons every season that we go through. And if the season of life for you is like, you know what I mean? Maybe I do need to go get more of a stable job that I don't have to put pressure on me to like do all this business stuff. Maybe that's the season that I'm in, right? Or vice versa. Hey, I want to be more close with the kids and work from home and maybe do my own thing, even though there's going to be income decrease, whatever. You get to decide. But you have to give yourself permission to sacrifice certain things because you're making decisions for where you're going, not based on where you are now. And that's where a lot of people get stuck in. They think they need to decide from the state they're in, like the environment they're in, versus like, no, if I go get this, let's say, part-time job on the side that's going to help me to alleviate X hours, of my time, whatever it is, to invest it back into my business so I can grow faster or hire people who can do the work, I'll actually have more time freedom versus not having the job to have the extra income to come in and you trying to hustle and you're spending hours and hours trying to do everything because you're not hiring the team to help you and you're missing out on life. So again, everything is a sacrifice, but everything has to make sense to your soul. And every decision we make, if this is the only thing you take from this podcast, every decision you make, breathe, take a deep breath in, regulate your nervous system, do whatever it takes just to tap into safety, whatever safety looks like for you, and then make the decision. And then become the person who you're meant to become as you process through your own growth. So I'll be quiet there because, as you can tell, I love to talk. I'm going to flip this back to you, girlfriends. Since you've also switched corporate to entrepreneurship and stuff, what has been your biggest lessons you've learned in this process?
So I always say when it comes to entrepreneurship, if you really don't want to work on yourself, don't step into entrepreneurship. Flat out, because you will meet all versions of you and you will literally come face to face with every doubt, every belief, every generational pattern that you've had. And it'll be like a mirror staring right back at you, right? So for me, the biggest shift in what I've really recognized is like, there are days where it's like the soul is like, okay, holy shit, this is harder than it sounds.
Mhm.
Because we glamorize it, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I get to work for myself.
Yeah.
But like, no one talks about what do you do when something is not uploading or you're having tech issues and guess what? Everything's on you.
Yep.
Like, so it would be like this counterbalance. And it's funny because I was just having a conversation with my mom and she was just like, you know, I would like you to be able to spend more time doing this. And I was like, oh, not today. I have a full call schedule. I have this and that. And she was like, I feel like you always have a full call schedule. Like, can't you alleviate some of what you do? And I was like, no, because I'm still in that slight grind of building a business.
Exactly.
Now, the beautiful part is I love what I do, so it brings me joy, minus the tech issues.
Yes.
Like, let's just be honest. But one thing I really loved about what you were saying is we do have to consciously regulate because
Mhm.
oftentimes people are expecting the ship to look like, oh, it's just going to be a straight line up. It's not. And it doesn't matter if you're in this position of like, oh, I'm going to create what I really love. While that may give you fulfillment and it may give you soul like joy, like genuine joy, there are days where you are literally crying behind the scenes, going, what is wrong with me? Or because you're meeting the deeper parts of yourself
Yeah.
and you're being forced to actually work through it in real time so that you can serve in a better way. At least for the coaching capacity, obviously.
Yeah.
Other industries might be a little different, but in coaching, I find that the best transformation work comes from me actually sitting through whatever I'm going through. And then I will find that a month later, 2 months later, or 3 months later, a client with that exact same issue will come up and be like, I need help working through this. And then I have the roadmap to help
Yeah.
them because I just walked through it.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, like sometimes we don't have the words to describe what we're going through because it's new. And I didn't go through a course of understanding trauma healing and all this shit, especially coming from a the Armenian background, like, we don't talk about that shit.
No, we do not.
I also realized later on in life how important it is to talk about it from a young age. Again, someone like me who has experienced watching my dad's identity to fall apart and due to mental health. He used to be a doctor back home in Armenia. And when we came to America, he was turning 40. And this was 30 years ago. And he had this identity crisis because he's like, I'm a doctor. I'm not going to go deliver pizza to make a living. Again, his ego got into his way. While my
Mhm.
mom, who's never worked because as her own identity was, she's a stay-home mom to take care
Stay-at-home
of her
mom.
kids. She's very well educated. She is top of her class graduate, but she belongs at home. And now all of like overnight, she has to take 3 different jobs, go take classes for English in the evenings to take care of our family. Till the mental health crisis became so bad that my dad actually ended up being homeless. And I had to heal that part of me that didn't talk to my dad for 25 fucking years. Till one day of this unbecoming and becoming came through, and I said, I'm the woman who forgives. I'm the woman who
Mm.
has compassion because he didn't have any tools. I'm the woman who comes with gratitude and says, thank you for bringing us to America, giving us the opportunity. I'm going to start crying. But again, we don't know sometimes what we're going through because it's new to our nervous system. We've never experienced this. So that the deep inner work that I've done not only healed many parts of my mom, who has never voiced of how she felt and how those emotions have made her sick in her very early 60s, but also I'm healing my kids who are 13 and 15 and a half, whatever. Like, they get to see mommy doing the work and talking about this and openly talking about it versus saying like, oh, we don't talk about that shit. We don't discuss that, right? So again, after
Amota.
25, exactly, like after 25 years of me talking about my dad and the mental health crisis, I found safety in my body to not only talk about, I was like, but this is my purpose. This is why I'm leading with the identity work we're talking about. This is why I'm leading with the nervous system work of making sure we're protecting our health. Number one priority, because that shit is going to affect everything from relationships, from your health, from your finances, from your life in general, but
Yeah.
also making sure my kids know that they have a grandpa and they get to go see him and rebuild that relationship because I was tired of living two different identities of like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Like we talk about like ignoring it. It's like, no, I need to be talking about that. I need to bring this up to the world because there's so many people suffering in silence and I cannot live with that. I can't live with that.
Yeah.
God put me on this universe to heal without pharmaceuticals, without this crazy ass big pharma that we live in. Again, as a pharmacist, I know there's a place and time for everything, but I'm more about holistic health and transformation versus here's a pill for that shit or here's a more pills for that side effects that you're taking. It's like it's too much. Like, can we like give people choices? This shit is not woo-woo. This is real, true science. Like our ancestors didn't have all this meds. They found
No.
remedies. I'm sure they did grounding, walking barefoot. Like, we were thinking like, oh my God, they're so poor. They didn't have nice shoes. Like, no, their bodies knew how to heal themselves using the earth, like using everything that's around us. So yes, this is such a beautiful time that we're living in because we have the resources. And it's up to us to put ourselves in environments that gives you the resources, shows you the resource, or shares the stories, just like you said. Like you've gone through that first, and now you get to help your clients. How beautiful is that? This is not like
Yeah.
some stupid like textbook material. Like you've lived through that shit.
Absolutely. And I think going back to the Armenian roots for a second, because there is so much shame in talking about anything. Like, I know for me growing up, you didn't talk about sexuality. You didn't talk about um, like the expectations even to when
Money,
I was growing up.
finances. Yeah.
No money, no finances. We didn't talk about like I just recently had my grandpa pass away and I was telling my grandma like, "Well, what are his actual wishes?" And she was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "You you haven't had that kind of conversation?" And she goes, "Why do I need to have that type of conversation?" And I was like, "Well, it's part of life, and he's obviously heading that way in some sort of capacity at some point. So shouldn't he have maybe a say
Yeah.
in what happens after the fact?" But there was so much of you don't talk, you don't talk. However, on the flip end, I had heard a little bit of, because I guess intuitively, maybe it was, I was naturally like a safe energy. So I would hear about some of the traumas that would happen at an early age. And so I remember going, this is interesting because I have the understanding that this is not usually talked about.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, my grandma had a situation that happened to her very young that I found out about when I was like 11, 12, which my uncle did not find out about until 2020. And so they're having this conversation, and he was like, "Oh, no, we don't talk about that in front of her." And I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? I've known this. I've known
For
about
many
this
years. Yeah.
for many years. I've already integrated it. I know the understanding."
Yeah.
But it makes me think how we shame and we have
Mhm.
this like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you don't," like, our family specifically was very honed in on, like, "You don't have a lot of friends. Your mom is your best friend." Like, that very close-knit community, which is beautiful, like, our culture is a very beautiful culture, but at the same time, the cost of that mentality is, like, we don't know how to process, we don't know how to co-regulate, we don't know how to actually have these normal life situations handled because we don't wanna talk about it, and it's, like, this mentality of if you don't talk about it, it'll just go away, and it doesn't.
Yeah. And it also builds this trust issues, right? You don't get to trust other people because your nervous system doesn't know how to be around other people. And also gives you this thing that you get to control life. Because if I don't step outside of my house and go play with other kids in my neighborhoods, right? I'm controlling life. But let me tell you, life is always controlling you.
Yeah,
So again, these are
absolutely.
things we didn't realize as a consequence later on in life that shows up. Yes, that was the biggest thing that I had to heal last year: shame, guilt, and unworthiness. And it came up the most random time of my life last year when I was at top peak of like the most magnificent experience that I have manifested. I just came out of speaking at UPW in front of 50,000 people.
That's incredible,
It's,
by the way.
thank you. And something that I've manifested because I've like got to share my story. And I was asked to share my story in front of 50,000 people from 125 countries live. I reached that high, the shit that I've manifested. And guess what? I didn't know how to celebrate. The 2 seconds later, something happened on the back end. And I started having this guilt, the shame and unworthiness that I took too much time because I canceled the following speaker. But instead, I didn't make that decision. They did. I didn't get to
Mm,
control how much space I get to take. They could have shut me off at any point, right?
yeah.
But again, instead of me saying, wow, I delivered such a valuable conversation, right?
Mhm.
That they allowed me to take the space because I fucking belong there. But deep down, I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking embarrassing. I felt so guilty of causing them quote unquote pain, disappointment, and felt guilty for that. All that shit keeps creeping out with the highest successful part of my journey. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. But recognizing it and releasing it. And our
Yeah,
bodies are constantly talking to us. We get to listen. We have to listen to your body, that inner knowing. Our body's constantly communicating with us. If we don't listen, we don't get to understand what's going on for us to regulate, to release, to rewire so they get to receive. So next time when
yeah,
we get to like find ourselves in this like shitty situation, you're feeling unworthy. It's like, where is this coming from? Let's get rid of the shit. Like it doesn't belong here now. So you get to receive what's about to come. That's always yours. So yes, the universe is very interesting ways of giving us what we need, especially as a business owner, because the shit is not meant for everyone. And it shouldn't be, it should
yeah.
not be.
And it's interesting, the one thing that really came up as you were describing that story of yours, firstly, how cool is that experience? I just want to take a moment to honor that
Thanks,
because
babe.
it is something that is incredible. And
Mhm.
many people would be like, okay, that is on my manifestation board. But side note, what really came through for me was, and I think this comes back to our roots, is
Mhm.
that place of women are not usually meant to take up space. It's kind of like we're meant to be think traditional household, changed a little bit over the last 20, 30 years, but like typically in Armenian culture, it's like the mom is the stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
She takes care of the kids. Her place in the entire family is just to nurture, but you don't act a certain way.
Mhm.
Like you're supposed to be a little more reserved. We were going through some family photos, and all the photos that they used to take are like dead serious, like
Yes.
not a
You
single
don't
smile.
smile. No, I know. Isn't that so fucking like, it's so it just makes no sense.
And
But
I
I
was
know.
making
It's
fun
that
of that. I was
interesting.
like, what is this mentality? Like,
Yeah.
so strict, like I have no personality. I was like, what is this? And my grandma goes, well, back then we were taught the woman needs to be lurch, which translation means serious.
Curious. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, what's wrong with smiling? Like, have a little bit of personality. But that's how they thought. And so the one thing that really came up is oftentimes, and I see this in me, I see this in like the women that I know that grew up with the same background. We also have this fear of being considered too much.
Yeah.
And so that guilt and that shame that you were feeling for taking up the space,
Mhm.
the core of that, the root, if we think about it at the seed level, is I'm too much. I took too much time.
Mhm.
When in reality, Tony Robbins' team, if they thought you were actually, they would have probably done some sort of like
Exactly.
signal. Like they have these monitors. If you've seen how the background of these events work, trust me, if they wanted it stopped, they would have had you like flashing a sign of like wrap it up or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that pretty
100%.
introspectively.
But at that moment, I didn't understand all of that. And until I start processing it with my coach, and I was like, shit, fuck, you're right. Like, you're right. Like, you're right. But also, like, Anita, like, you know, we're talking about women, especially women, right? And women's worthiness was measured based on how clean the house was and how well everything was taken care of and all those things. And just recently, I caught myself doing that to my daughter, which was so interesting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same shit to her. My daughter, like, she's a water, she's a teenager. She takes her sweet ass time. We're always late because of her. I'm like, Annalisa, let's go. She's just getting ready. Like, just takes her time, taking the space. Like, I'm healing through her. Again, her soul chose us as a parent, same way I chose my parents, right? There's a teaching in this, right? But her
Absolutely.
friend was coming over, and the first thing came out of my mouth, go clean your room. It's so embarrassing. Your room is dirty. No one gives a shit
Mm.
about a dirty room. But I keep saying, using the word, it's embarrassing, like few times. And I was like, fuck. I was ashamed for having a messy anything and not sitting properly or talking too much or saying something I wasn't supposed to, right? Or even approaching a table to get some food without even being told, like, you can come and sit with us and socialize, right? Like all this, I was like, fuck, like I was doing that to her. And then I was like, Annalisa, it's not embarrassing, but it just feels so much like open space when your friend is, and I had to catch myself and redo the words again. But
Mm-hmm.
we do this subconscious. If I didn't do the inner work, I would not have put it the dots, and I would have planted the seed of she's messy, she's not clean, she's not a good friend, maybe she doesn't care. Like all these negative things would get implanted in her. So when she's, in her 20s and 30s and 40s, like that shit will come up again in a different way, right? In a different mask, but it's the same deep down feeling. So yes, it's such a beautiful space of, again, talking about this type of things, but also catching us in the moments and now
That's where
having
the
the
real work
tools.
is.
Yeah, and having the tools to implement right away versus like, oh, she'll forget about it. Like, no, no, no. Her nervous system will remember that shit. How her mom told her it's embarrassing 3 freaking times and yelled at her for not cleaning her room because her friend is coming over. No one gives a shit about it, right? Those teenage girls, they don't care about any of that. You know, they just want to be not bothered. They don't care about anything. But again, the old wounds of me coming and like passing it, I was like, no, 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 this shit ends with me. Like, nope, we're gonna rewire that. We're gonna reframe it and we're gonna like not apologize because I'm still teaching her life. Like not apologizing, but just rewarding it in a way so she doesn't feel like deep down like, oh my gosh, like I'm such a failure. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have to be told what to do all the time. I cannot take care of myself, you know? So anyways,
Yeah,
just
you're
wanted to share
co-regulating
that
her.
because this is life, you know, this is life.
It
This is life.
very much is. I'm very curious, just standing on the topic of Armenian, because there's not a lot of guests I can do this with. But how do
Yes.
you think growing up Armenian influenced your nervous system in the long run?
You know, it's not only being Armenian, but it's also knowing that we come from a culture of survival. And if
Yeah.
you look in history, there's so many other cultures that go through survival. My great grandma, she survived Armenian genocide. So I grew up listening to the stories and I was 16 years old when I came to America. So like I grew up there. That was home for me, right? And also realizing later on in life that especially us as women, we carry so much of the generational pain that
Mhm.
is not ours anymore. And it's up to us to release it. And this came to me. I didn't realize I was carrying so much pain in my physical body. I was doing an energy healing session actually, and my lower back just started to freaking kill me. I never have a lower back pain. My lower back pain was on fire. I was like, what is happening? And I was like, I've given 2 natural births. Like my back was hurting worse than during labor. It was that painful.
Wow.
And the healer was like, it's not your pain, just release. You've been carrying all this ancestral pain for all these years. It's not your pain, just release. I was like, fuck. Oh my gosh. Like, it's not my pain.
Yeah.
But we're born with that DNA, that information already in our nervous system. Our nervous system is formed before even our brain is formed. But if we don't
Mm.
do the work, we don't realize I was still carrying because I have never had any back pain other than when I was in literally active labor. Like that's it. And actually, every now and then when I do specific 7-day fast and I'm just doing like more of a cleansing, again, body and everything holds energy and I will experience that pain of just like releasing. But yes, it goes back to remembering that we are born with 7 to up to like 14 generational patterns and DNAs and in our nervous system already. And if we don't do the work, you're going to just keep passing it on to another generation, another generation, right? But the truth is, we don't have to keep keeping that. But also, on the flip side, it reminded me how freaking strong we are,
Yeah.
especially us as women. How resilient we are, especially as a woman. It's like nothing can stop us. Like, someone who has, gone through so much crap, but yet found herself and came out of it, right? Like how strong we are. And sometimes we don't realize the strength that's within us. We don't celebrate that part and we just like, oh, it's no big deal, right? Because we're supposed to like not make it big deal, right? And just like, oh, it's no big deal, just move.
Humble, humility.
Yes. But no, it's a big
Oh,
fucking deal. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, babe. But it's a beautiful thing that there's always two things can be true at the same time. And if two people are saying different things, they're both probably right in their own way. They get to
it's
see
a
life.
paradox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's a
looking at the
paradox.
life the way they're looking at through their own lens. So that's where we're at. So
I just want to take a moment because I really love this conversation. And like, I love the wisdom and I love the angle because when we think about regulation and like how important that is, oftentimes I hear people will tell me, like, oh, but I don't have the time to take a breath. Or I don't have, like, and it's the funniest thing because I'm like, well, how long do you think that you really need?
Yeah.
Like, we can do it in a transition, we can do it, little moments stack up if we actually create the time. But it's interesting because a lot of women, a lot, especially if they're moms. I'm not a mom yet, but I understand all the goes with it. And so it's like, how do we create the time for ourselves? So I'm curious on your perspective of how did that shift look like for you, where you were like, it is actually not selfish of me to create the capacity to actually regulate, to take time for myself to do this healing work in order for me to show up as a better mom.
It's actually a two-part experience for me because before I even understood what importance the nervous system has on my health, I had to go through my own health journey when I was told I was going to have a heart attack and die because I was morbidly obese with high cholesterol, high stress. I was a new mama of two, addicted to sugar and caffeine and the carbs because I didn't have time to meal prep. I didn't have time to work out because, again, I had to drive to work and all those things. But till you hear those words that I'm gonna have a heart attack in the next 5 years, before I even turn 40, it just hits different. And when I learned how to turn my excuses into my why, this is where everything shifted. I made the time to go work out. I made myself a priority because I wanted to see my kids grow up. And I
Mm,
also knew that this is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. And as a result, I lost over 100 pounds. I started competing in bodybuilding fitness shows as Wonder Woman. I started running
incredible.
marathons, yes, and just embodying that, right? So that was the physical and health transformation piece. And later on in life, when I became an entrepreneur and I thought I have to hustle, I have to sacrifice my sanity for the business, right? My identity became my business. My business success was my own thinking this is my reflection of who I am. I was really confused. It was like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? And 4 years
Mhm.
ago, that's when I said something has to change, something has to shift. And that's when I had to escape to Bali because I was like, if I have to do big changes, I have to escape my current environment to be in an environment when I'm by myself, without the kids, without a spouse, without my client, without the responsibilities that I carry, and work on myself. So when I came back, I said, wow, this is not only I'm going to make time to be gone for like 10, 14 days across country, but the version of me that came home was different. The version of me that came home was loving more, serving more, taking care of herself more, not from a selfish perspective, but it's more of like, wow, I get to show my kids of how it is to take care of yourself, how it is to not snap at shit, but also find ways to breathe. Doesn't take more than 20 seconds. We can do quick 20-second breath work. It will reset your nervous system. Go on a walk for 10 minutes. Do 5 minutes of grounding. These are things that you make it into priority because you know if your life depended on it, you will take this and you'll make it into time. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, you have time. All of a sudden, you're ready to face the truth, which is, again, one of the hardest thing a lot of people don't do. They're too scared to face themselves in the mirror.
Very true. Very true. And I'm gonna, this might sound shady, this might not, sorry, fellow Armenians, but it's especially true within our community. And
Mhm.
I'm heartbroken by that. Do not take me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, actually, when I am at events and I come across an Armenian or I'm half Egyptian, so either or, I'm always like, "Oh my god, they're doing the work." Because again, we have such
Yeah.
beautiful cultures, but there's a lot that goes with it.
Mhm.
And so when we think about how do I regulate, like it's funny, like there's certain patterns that get carried through generation to generation. And I know recently my mom got to a place where she was like, I'm so sorry that I used to hit you and I used to scream and shout, but I didn't know anything different. And I was just like, it's okay. Like you didn't, that was the programming. That's how you actually learned. But the fact that we have a choice now, the fact that we can actually regulate ourselves now so that the future generations don't have that same thing is interesting. But am I guilty of not wanting to occasionally raise my voice when something pisses me off? Yeah. But
No.
does that mean I'm going to act on it? No, because now I know better.
Yeah.
The pattern doesn't have to stay with me. It can be readjusted and like
Yeah.
actually changed. And that's what I'm so proud of. So, like, it makes me really want to hone in on the fact that I'm just so incredibly honored that you're actually like an example of this work real time. And it's like, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And I'm curious though, as we're getting close to wrapping up, though, I'll be honest, I really don't want to.
I know.
But
We need to do like part 2 of this later on. Just kidding.
anytime. But you talk about the $1 billion identity, and you always say that most entrepreneurs, and we've talked a lot about this, but
Mhm.
just really confining this back to home, most entrepreneurs don't have a strategy problem, they have a regulation problem.
Mhm.
Can you unpack that in your world and what that looks like in what you've seen?
Right. So the best way for me to explain this is we always chase after what we think we need. So again, we're stuck in our heads. Oh, I need this marketing team. I need this sales team. I need this website. I need. This is all our head talking.
Mhm.
But when we make those decisions from our head, what did I say earlier? We're making
It's
the
the ego.
safest decisions because again, our brain is here to keep us alive. Our brain is here to save us and protect us. It's here to make sure we're surviving. It's scanning for threats even though you don't realize it is. And again, when we get so busy in our entrepreneurial journey and we just keep go, 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 and it's working, you're seeing the success, and then you get to create the success, but then you haven't trained your soul to receive the success. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to lose all that shit. Just like
Sabotage.
people. Yeah, it's just like those people who win the lottery and they become homeless like within a year. Millions and millions gone. Why? Because they never stepped into the identity of being worthy to receive. And we can't just ask the universe to give us, give us, give us, give us, give us. There's so much abundance. There's no, shortages of, excitement, right, in the world. But also, we also need to remove certain things that don't belong to us so we can truly expand our capacity to receive and step into our $1 billion identity. And when I say $1 billion, not just the dollar amount. Yes, for a lot of entrepreneurs are thinking about dollar, but how does that $1 billion identity show up with the love and compassion or with resentment? How does that $1 billion identity treat their spouse? Like they owe you something, or they're like, babe, I got you. I'll take care of you. It's how you show up, your energy, your spirituality. And to me, wealth is a multidimensional thing, not just what you have in your bank account.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are so wealthy. I would never spend a minute with them. That's not my vibe. That's not my energy. That's not who I want to be around. They're miserable. They
Yeah.
are miserable. Most
The
of them
saddest
suicidal.
person, yeah, the saddest person can be the quote unquote most successful. I think
Absolutely.
of a story. I was at a Lewis House event last year, and he shared that someone in a apartment building he was living in had committed
Mhm.
suicide. And if you looked at him on paper, he had been one of like the richest people in that building. He had all the nice cars. He had women left and right, but his kids didn't talk to him.
Exactly.
And So it really like hones in on that point of like, what does wealth really mean to you?
Yeah.
Does it actually mean just a bank account? Because at the end of the day, you're not taking that shit when you go.
No, you're not. You are not. No one's gonna remember again how much money you made and even how much money you gave away, but they'll remember how you made them feel, right? Like it's so true. It's like how what we say, it's like how do you make people feel? And if you're gonna be an asshole, I don't want to be around you. I don't need that shit. You know what I mean? But again, before, and this is important too for a lot of people, years ago, like I didn't have so much self awareness and also self respect to excuse myself from those groups. Because in my mind of like, I'm so lucky to be here. And just because I fit in that environment doesn't mean I belong there. Just
So your
because you
standards
fit
shifted.
does not mean exactly I belong there. I had to be true to myself, my values. Do I respect people who gossip around other people? I don't care what they've done, right? But if they're here to tell you what truly is going to help someone else, thank you. I appreciate that because it's helping someone else, not just talking bullshit about someone else, right? And it's all about like, how do you know? I think that was one of your first questions. Like, how do you know? You don't. You really don't. Till you take the action from that regulated nervous system and you see, how does this feel? You won't know till you take the action. But again, you got to remember to take the action, make those decisions from a regulated nervous system because now your body is actually at maximum of zen versus the chaos. Again, we try to make those, billion-dollar decisions from chaos instead of the calm and clarity. No wonder we're not happy. No wonder we're not able to sustain that because we haven't gone to the root cause of expanding our capacity to receive. So much going on here, babe. I'm like loving this conversation, like so much. And I know we got to wrap this shit up because
Yeah.
this is beautiful.
This is basically a masterclass at this
It
point.
is. It
So,
is.
as we are wrapping, one of the final questions I want to give you before we head into our quick fire, which I did not tell you about.
Oh
So
my gosh,
fun.
let's
You
go.
you have a warning now. But for someone who's listening to this and they're going, "Well, how do I even know that I've outgrown my capacity and the identity hasn't caught up yet?" What would be your first like signal?
Your body's always communicating to you.
Mhm.
So I'll use this gut feeling a lot. You're like, oh, like someone just punched me in my stomach. Your gut has so much knowledge. Or you're about to speak and you're like scratching your throat like something is off. It's not because you don't know how to speak or just some food got stuck on your throat all of a sudden. It's your throat chakra being blocked and it's your body's constantly communicating with you. Constantly communicating with you. Whether it's a physical pain or, emotional pain,
Discomfort. Yeah.
you just have to listen. You have to listen and you have to train yourself to pay attention. Hey, when else does this thing happen? Hey, every time I'm trying to have a conversation with my spouse, I feel like I'm about to choke and I have to go get some water because maybe you're about to say something that deep down you don't feel like you're worthy of sharing your truth. Or maybe deep down, there's something else you want to say, but you're playing small. You're like, oh my gosh, I cannot go there. I'm going to suppress my voice. Our body is always communicating with us. So yes, pay attention to the body. And again, this is my zone of genius. It took me years and years and years of studying and understanding how that science meets spirituality and how this thing is connected. They're not two different, people always say like, brain is one compartment and gut is another compartment. There is a connection like, and our nervous system is another compartment. No, when we put things in
It's all
compartments, it
intertwined.
means, yeah, it means like we're separating them. It's one thing. It's one thing. And you get to tap into all of them at any given time. I don't have to like
Beautiful.
put this in compartments. So like that would be my short/long answer of like, listen to your body. Your body's constantly communicating with you. And if you're not even sure if this is a thing, like this is where resources come in. And just listen and ask questions, be around people to understand this side of life, and you'll have your answers. It's right in front of you. You just have to listen. That's it.
Beautiful answer. So, if you could give one message to a woman who's listening right now, and she feels exhausted from constantly trying to hold everything together, what would be the one thing you would leave her with?
Mm. You're worthy of doing what you want to do. That's it. Deep down, it comes back to worthiness. Deep down, it comes back to putting ourselves as a priority because we're thinking they have to sacrifice other people. But also, the truth is, we get to inspire other women to take care of themselves. We become that vehicle. We became that ripple effect for other women giving themselves permission to take care of themselves. So, whatever it's on the heart, whatever the stress is being caused, like whatever scenario that is, just know that you're worthy of doing it. Just do it. I mean, this is like, sounds cliche, but just fucking do it. Seriously.
Beautiful answer. And also, can I just take a moment to say the part that really gets me is the worthiness. So I
Mhm.
want to ask you, in your opinion, how does worthiness show up for you? How do you know you are worthy inherently rather than chasing it from accolades and accomplishments? Because you are highly accomplished. How did you get to that place where you find it within you now?
Oh man, this was actually one of the biggest parts of my intervention, actually with Tony last year, because deep down I was still chasing that little child in me was chasing the love and respect for my dad
Mhm.
because of, again, also being in Armenian culture, we don't say each other, I love you. We don't see that affection in the house because, again, like I did not grow up watching that or hearing that. So deep down, I didn't feel like I was worthy. And also deep down, there are so many different times of my life thinking like I was not good enough. And that's why I start chasing after the credentials to show that I am good enough, to chase after all the certifications and things. Again, like I'm smart enough, right? But now doing the inner work, I realize it's always coming back to what does that mean to me in this moment? So sometimes being worthy of like, hey, I'm okay with taking space and having the conversation, even though like we're 7, 8 minutes behind schedule. But I know this message is gonna reach someone that needed to hear that. And I have to constantly just remind myself. It's not just like one time thing, you like, oh my God, I feel worthy. I read all the books and all that shit. Like, no, you have to constantly remind yourself, right? Instead of me like trying to rush and end the conversation or trying to like answer it shorter because we wanted to make this into a 1 hour interview. And now it's like more than an hour. You know what I mean? So like constantly reminding myself that I am worthy of whatever scenario this is, taking space, time, or things that I invest in myself. I love to buy things every now and then to treat myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how I love to celebrate. That's how I love to like remember of my accomplishments, which has taken a lot of time, energy to do. So, so yeah, just remembering that this is my true, like true identity. Like this is it, and it took me years and years of unpacking to arrive, and I freaking got to celebrate it now. So, there you go.
Beautiful. Well, where are you most excited to serve people right now? And how can people connect with you?
This has been a bazillion dollar question because as someone who myself who went through this big pivots the last, especially the last year, putting my business on hold to like reinvent myself. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And once I started doing that inner work, I realized I was put on this planet to help people with mental health, the holistic mental health, the energy work, having them have choices and understand their bodies and understand of how we have been created and how to help them to expand their capacity, their nervous system. It always comes back to that, right? And this is why I was like, how can I serve more people? Because I cannot work with billions of people as much as I want to. I just can't. So just about a few months ago, right before I was heading to Bali for my annual Bali retreat, I put out something to the universe, which is my 30 years of making into a self-paced, self-guided 22 minutes a day of experience every single day, expand capacity reset. And it's not a course. This is not information. You can get that shit online. You can go have a conversation with ChatGPT or Claude or free on YouTube or listen to podcasts. I'm not here to give you more information. I'm here to give you a transformation. And every single day, as I unpack different parts of you that goes around my expand capacity framework, which is week 1 is all about self-regulation, understanding how our body has been talking to us. What do we do? And then we get to release that by self-regulation, lots of different tools, whether it's tapping, whether it's breath work, whether it's hypnosis, all those different modalities I've loved and been trained in. Then we get to make a decision about one area of life, whether it's your health, maybe it's your career, maybe it's your relationship, whatever part it is, like the decision-making part, and then the becoming. Who do you get to become in this process? So I'll walk people through the process. Again, it is self-paced. You can start at any time. And for all of your audience, if you guys check out the show notes, there is a coupon code just for all of you to use to save additional, because I made this so easily accessible for people to have the tools. And I'm going to wrap this up by saying that there's so much information out to the universe, especially right now, whether it's AI generated and there's no human behind it, but we can't even tell it's not even a human, or the articles you get to read on huge magazines that was not even written by a human, or the news. There's so much information overload, and there's so much confusion of what do we do next, especially in this longevity world, especially in this mental health world. There's so much fucking information. There's so many quote unquote influencers that have probably taken a quick course over the weekend and now they get to give advice on mental health. And I'm like, but it's an industry that's not regulated. It's an industry that anyone can become a coach today with a piece of
Yep.
paper. That's it. So again, there's so much information out there. There's so much misinformation out there. So as a consumer, ask yourself, what do I need right now? And find 1 or 2 people and just listen to what they're teaching, but ask yourself, how does this feel? If it doesn't feel right, you move on. And try not to consume too much shit, because then your brain gets overwhelmed. Then your brain gets confused. And guess what it does to your nervous system? You're going to get even worse than you are. So again, less is more. That is my methodology. Less is more. I'm one of those practitioners who don't give you like thousands of supplements just because it's good for you. Less is more, right? Or running thousands of different labs just to get to the root cause. Nope. Less is more. So again, whatever you're doing today, just pick 1 or 2 content creators, 1 or 2 practitioners, whoever you want to be around, or whatever season of growth you're going through, and listen, but then ask yourself, how does this feel for me? It makes sense for them, but they're not living your life. You get to live your life and you get to choose what you get to do with your time. So that is it. I'm going to shut my mouth because this has been, I can talk for hours and hours. I'm so passionate about this. But yes, Expand Capacity Reset is my baby that I just gave birth to literally a few months ago. And this is it. This is my calling. And of course, as always, those of you who want to go deeper, definitely you can schedule a call with me to see if we can work together. But only those who are serious about transformation cannot do the work for you guys. You have to show up, you have to do the work. I cannot do the work for you.
Absolutely. Well, that was incredible. I am so freaking grateful to have you. But like I said, there's still a little more. So we're
There's
going to
more.
do a quick fire round.
Let's do this.
Think a word to a sentence, first thought that comes to mind.
Mhm.
So, what season of life are you currently living in?
I'm in spring.
Oh, she took this literally. Cool. What's a thing that you're unlearning right now?
I'm learning integration and AI. I am learning.
Unlearning,
Oh,
actually.
unlearning. I thought you said learning. I'm unlearning how to do everything myself. And because again, someone who had trust issues with a team in the past and now is a solopreneur, I'm rebuilding that trust with myself to bring in team. But before I bring anyone else, I'm learning the foundational stuff. So I get to be the leader to serve my team. So I'm now like just completely blindsided and just moving on. So yeah, a lot of unlearning, but also learning how to trust myself and to bring in the talent. So
Beautiful. What's one thing you've been protecting more than you've ever felt like you've had to protect before?
my time, especially now during summer, especially when it's family time, my time has been the most valuable thing I'm protecting. And I stopped having FOMO of like, oh, I didn't go here, I didn't go out there, or, now I'm like, again, less is more. And I'm a super introvert, you guys. You may see me thinking I'm such a huge extrovert. Like I love my quiet space by myself. Like I'm that girl who will stay home and order out versus, go out at 10 p.m. Like, yeah, like I just love my peace and quietness at the season of life that I'm in right now. So
Beautiful. A book that has changed your life.
mm, I think one of the biggest ones is by Dan Martell, You Can Take Back Your Time. And I didn't understand the importance of it till I reread it again just recently. And it's such an easy book to read. It's like so fast. But he always talks about, again, being on a time thing, right? Like I'm protecting my time, but also as a someone who's an entrepreneur, like how do I gain more time, whether it's hiring people or this and that? It's like, how do we gain more time? Because that's one thing we don't know how much we have, right? Like, I have no idea how much time I have on this planet. Nobody does, right? So that's been one of the biggest books I would say in this season of life of like because I'm so cautious of like how do I spend my time? Who do I spend my time with? Is this person draining my energy or giving me energy? And like very protective of my own aura and my own energy and the space that I'm in. So yeah, I would say that one. Take back your time. And the second one too, I'm gonna say one more. Louise Hay, her book "You Can Heal Yourself." She was one of my original books that I
Amazing.
grabbed years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, and that's why I'm so passionate about talking about emotions of how they're making you sick. But when I got her book, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just pure magic. I go to that resources all the time. I was like, wow, like someone comes with some symptoms, like here's a book, here's the resources right in front of me, and how do we heal that? How do we expand that? How do we release that? So, yeah, I would say those two things for sure has made a huge impact.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Synchronicity. Um, a song that lights up your mood.
Oh my gosh, I've been obsessed with this song. It's called "Rewrite Your Story," and I forget who is it by. But I've been playing that song on auto repeat all the time, and it just gets me back into like, I got this shit. Like, I got this. I got this. I got this. It's my time. So yeah, that's the song, the season that I'm in right now for like listening on auto repeat, like literally all the time. And it's not like a dance music. It's more like spiritual of just like on like leaving and like it's just the words just landing on me like just beautifully. So maybe I'll send you the link on the Spotify. You can add it to the show notes.
Please do.
Yeah.
Best advice you've ever received in a single sentence.
Ooh. Last year during my intervention with Tony Robbins, he told me that stop chasing for love and I'm already love and I am loved. And that was one of the biggest, like, wow, like, why am I constantly thinking I have to go, 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 do to earn it? It's like I'm already there and just celebrating that. So that really hit home for me. It's like, wow, like, what does that mean to me right now? And how do I remember that and embody that at all times? It all comes back again, like the love and worthiness. I was like, oh, fuck, like that shit hits home.
I can relate.
Mhm.
Okay, as we get to the final two, this one's gonna be a fill in the blank. Success without blank isn't success.
Mm. Success without health is not a success.
Beautiful. And lastly, what is one thing you want women to stop apologizing for?
Who they are, what the fuck they are. That's it. That's it. End of story.
Well, I just want to take a moment to really honor you and thank you for coming on the show. It has been such a privilege to have this conversation finally, like 5 to 6 months in the making at least.
Mhm.
But I just want to take a moment because the work you do, the regulation, the weight loss, the over arc of who you are as a healer, as a woman, as a soul, as an entrepreneur, lots of varying titles. But I just want to commend you because you are one of the kindest, most genuine people I know in the space. And your heart shines through. And I'm so honored to know you and be a part of this journey with you. And I just want to say, if you're listening to this right now and you're going, wow, they touched on a lot from generational healing to nervous system capacity to regulation, it is the best advice I can give you is take what landed. Just pick one thing from the episode, let it marinate, let it be how you lead your next week. And don't feel like you need to consume and change your life in a snap of a finger. It's okay to take this bite sized, take it with letting yourself actually regulate into the change rather than I'm just going to overhaul my life. That's a separate conversation for another day. But if you like this conversation, please go ahead and let us know. Feel free to DM us on Instagram, comment on the reels that are going to be on Instagram, or just reach out to either one of us. Let us know what you thought. And if you are listening to this, thank you for your patience. I know this one was a long one, but it was such a great conversation. And until then, I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.